All right, good afternoon, Trade Pros. This is Mark from Trade Pro Academy, coming at you guys from our office here in lovely Toronto, Ontario. And I've got myself muted on the other front. Perfect. And let's go ahead and get started here, guys. I do apologize for the late start. We're just working some extra webinar here with our elite members, but now we're on to YouTube. So I hope you guys did not mind the wait. Do apologize for that. However, as you would imagine, we got to look after our subscribers first, and that's what we try to do. And now we are focusing our attention here on you guys, YouTube. So let me go ahead and get started with some of the key overnight drivers. I know that George was not on YouTube today. He was 30,000 feet in the air, flying off to the US. So there was no update on that front. He will be back, I believe, tomorrow morning on that front. So if you guys did miss him, worry not, he'll be back tomorrow. Let me cover some of the stuff that happened through the overnight session, and we'll cover, my usual bit with regards to what happened through the US session. Then we'll take a look at crude oil. We'll take a look at the S&P 500, and we will let you guys off with that. So first things first, overnight, what did we see? Well, we saw quite a few things, namely for the States. We had a tweet coming out from China mentioning that China will probably say, let's wait on a trade deal and try to delay until the 2020 election. Dollar's the currency of choice. It's a beautiful thing to have a strong dollar. The euro is not doing so well. China's currency is very low. Didn't say I'm not going to do something on the dollar. That was Mr. Trump, ladies and gentlemen. I've had it in the back of my mind. I've kind of been speculating on the fact that, Trump, all of these tariff talks, back to when they started with China, I think 6 or 7 months back, was likely due to the fact that, the Fed was not acting the way that Trump wanted the Fed to, as far as, the monetary policy with their rates, doing tightening as opposed to easing. And, I kind of held the firm belief that Trump was going to do whatever he could with the means he had available to him in order to, devalue that U.S. currency, the U.S. dollar, using means at his disposal. What are the means at his disposal? Well, tariffs are one of them. Tariffs are one such thing. And you saw that kind of had an effect on the dollar. Dollar wasn't really able to get back above that 97.71 mark for the better part of Q2, Q3, and I believe it was even going into Q4 of 2018, and the first the first 2 quarters of 2019. We literally just broke last week that 97.71 level on a weekly basis. That's our first weekly breakout above that level since May of 2018. So just about a year we've spent below that. Now we're above it, and it comes as no surprise that now we're hitting almost into the 2019 highs, which are around the 98.30s, up in the high 30s. No surprise that as we're approaching those highs, Trump's back on it, being vocal about doing what he can with the dollar. That's what we saw overnight. During the US session, a couple more tweets out of Trump. He mentioned the EU and China will further lower interest rates and pump money into their systems, making it much easier for their manufacturers to sell products. In the meantime, and with very low inflation, our Fed does nothing and will probably do very little by comparison. Too bad. So again, this rhetoric is pretty hilarious for us to see here. Another Trump criticism was that he renewed criticism of the Fed and said that a small rate cut is not enough. So Trump's on there being vocal about a larger than a 25 basis point cut, saying the Fed's not doing enough. And, he's saying himself that he's not, or let me rephrase this. He's saying that he didn't say that I'm not going to do something on the dollar. So again, interesting things. He's commenting on the Fed, saying that they're not doing, their jobs, and also mentioning that he's not, or was it again? He mentioned that he's not going to do something about the dollar. Double negative. You take it as you will. That's enough for me on that front. We also had the Dallas Fed manufacturing numbers come out at 10:30. A bit of a miss on that front, minus 6.3 versus minus 6 expected. So now that we've covered that fun stuff, let's jump onto our actual charts. I don't have the quote board open, so I'm a little bit unprepared today. But what you guys will see is my actual charts. Let me just make a new quote board here really quickly for you guys. And we are going to throw the crude oil chart on there. It's the U contract add, and we're going to throw the SPOOs on there as well, which is the EP. There's the EP. There's September. Add that guy in and close. All right. So there's our quote board. That's what we're looking like at the moment. So we are seeing, crude oil futures, pretty late volume, 397,000 contracts on the session so far. Daily change percentage up marginally, 0.44%. S&P 500, again, very late volume relative to what we have been seeing, 512,000 contracts. This likely because we have that big FOMC announcement on Wednesday. I don't really anticipate too much volume. I anticipate actually a vacuum of volume being taken out of the market into that Wednesday. So this is kind of what I anticipate to be the norm into Wednesday. Wednesday, as mentioned, is your key FOMC statement out of the US. And, we follow that up on Friday with some NFP and labor data. So expecting some fireworks on Wednesday. However, up and until that, this is kind of what I'm expecting to be the norm. Relatively light volume and relatively, choppy movement. I'm not really seeing too much as far as direction. We'll see what happens after Wednesday. But up and until then, this is kind of what I'm anticipating. If you will be trading throughout this week until Wednesday, I would really recommend, keeping a really tight leash, trading at a reduced size, and being really quick to take profits and to flatten. This is not the market you kind of want to, cut off your take profits and let it run. In these kinds of markets, you want to get paid and take the money and run. So that's what we're seeing here on both of these assets. Late volume across the board, both crude oil and S&P 500, and relatively unchanged as far as previous day close. I wish you would try that. You know what, Kristen? I'll try that tomorrow, and we'll see. We'll see if it works. So that's kind of what we got on the quote board. You guys are seeing a bit of a different setup today. This is my actual trading setup. I just don't feel like pulling up the other one and waiting for it to load. So we'll play it from here. What you guys are seeing is that we are currently at, where are we currently? We are currently above the pivot. You guys can see there's our pivot right there, right at 30.19. Excuse me. We have traded above it. However, this day has been really choppy. If you take a look at the 10 tick, we did have a bit of a sell-off off the open into the 5-day point of control, and we're kind of looking for the sellers to defend that level here and press this sucker lower. It's not what we got. Instead, we got a bit of a slow grind higher. That grind took us back into the previous day close. We kind of kissed the overnight or the opening range low on the forehead, and then rolled over from there. And now we're kind of back at a level of support. So really, if it was me, which it is, I've only taken one trade today on this market. I got stopped out, trying it a little bit early. I honestly don't think I'm going to try anything more for the rest of today's session. At this point, the risk is, greater than the reward. Not seeing too much direction. We're kind of in the middle of nowhere. Current range lows around the 16s, range highs up here around those 22 3/4, 23s. Anything in the middle, you're kind of fiddling in the middle. You're kind of asking to get guillotined here, Jinsued, trying to, find a direction within there, especially in a super rangy day, especially in a week where we've got FOMC coming out on Wednesday. So you've got to be really picky with the shots that you do take in here. I've taken one. That's really looking like the only shot I'm going to take for today's session until we start seeing some more volatility on that front. That being said, From a structure perspective, you know, on the 10 tick, you do have a high, you do have a low, you do have a lower high, you do have a lower low, you do have what is potentially a lower high. So, you know, from a structure perspective, so long as we maintain below these opening range lows, you know, downside is expected. However, like I said, it is super choppy. Anything can happen in between these zones. So while it's great that I've got structure showing me, you know, downside is the right side, I wouldn't really look to do anything until we get back up into a level where we might transition back to the upside. I'd be looking for extremes today, not looking for anything in the middle. That's what I've got on the SPOOs. On the crude oil market, let me drag that back into frame. There's your crude oil market. And, you know, you are just seeing a whole bunch of consolidation at this point in time. What I did mention to the room before we signed off was that we had just experienced a potentially transitory move. Once crude oil kind of broke above these highs here in the 40s, came into that value area high, rotated back down. And I was kind of telling the room, you know, look for a move back down to a rotation back down into these structure highs, which should act as support on the way down. We did have a couple of nice order flow levels right into those upper 30s, and I think that's exactly where it came into. Let's just confirm that. Yeah, so it came right into that zone. Our zone was sitting right around here, right into that zone on the pullback, and we started to press up a little bit higher from there. So good opportunity there to catch that. For anybody in the room, that's what we were seeing really on that front. And you know, we're kind of telling the people in the room, if you do get long in there, just look for a move, not necessarily past the previous all-time highs, but just into those previous highs. Often what happens is if you get a move like that and the next rotation up fails, you'll likely get a bit of a deeper pullback and more consolidation start to form out. So if you did catch those down in those low 30s, you know, these 50s are a nice level to look to get paid. 20 cents of opportunity. That's great. Take the money and run. Like I said, today's not the kind of day that you want to hold on to positions. You kind of want to get paid and run. That's what we got on crude. Kind of just looking for, you know, that structure support to hold those 30s. If that level does hold, we'll likely get a push up back into those 70s. If not, rotation back into the range. And that becomes kind of choppy, not really looking to do anything on that front. So that's what we got for you guys on crude. You know, S&P 500 status quo remains the same. We are starting to form some rotations between this structure here and the VWAP. So, you know, if you are looking to remain trading, you are seeing that structure starting to form between, you know, that sell and bounce and point of control and these little points of controls and buy and bounces down here. So bit of a range starting to form. You know, if you are looking to go short, I'd be looking to do so somewhere in these 21s to the 21.75. Now that we've had that breakdown and we've seen one rotation hold as resistance, we'll see if it can come back down, rotate up. You know, you could look to short it from there. But ultimately, like I said, I'm likely going to be on the sidelines as I'm not really a big fan of this current price action, since, you know, it can go either way here, and I don't really see too much of an edge at this point in time. So that is what I've got on these markets here. A little bit different of a style just because, like I said, I went a little bit over time with the room, with the elite room, and now at this point, let's jump into the TRADEPRO Performance Index. So again, I do apologize for being a bit messy today, but we'll fix this up as of tomorrow. So final little metric here for you. Final little metric here for you guys, our TRADEPRO Performance Index. I don't know if you guys find value out of this or not. If you do find value out of it, please let me know. Just throw in a Y in the chat. The TRADEPRO Performance Index is basically our way of showing you guys being anybody that's not a current member at this point in time. This TRADEPRO Performance Index is meant as a metric to show you guys how our team is doing. Our traders, myself, Victorio, Steven, David, and George, we do not vote on this. This is strictly voted on by our trading community, all the members that are in there, and this is on a day-to-day basis. We take note of this, and what this should show you guys is, this is real time what the community is doing. This is not any charlatan stuff where we talk about trades in hindsight, where we say, if you shorted here, you would have made this amount of money, you'd be able to quit your job, et cetera, et cetera. That is the exact opposite of what we do. If anything, the community is it's a place with how can I say it? Everyone's looking to do the same thing, but we've got, it's tough love. We set the expectations very quickly that this is not something you're going to get overnight. This is something that takes time to do. And because we set expectations right off of the bat, you know what you're looking for. You're not looking to make riches overnight. You understand that consistency and risk management is the name of this game. As long as you keep your losses controlled, your profits are simply the result of the risk management that you use, that you enforce. So if you're getting paid, that's the result of managing risk. There's no two ways about it, and that's the way that we operate. And that is why when you guys see these results, some people may say, "Oh wow, 65% on average are green. How's that possible?" It's possible because we set expectations up front, and we do a pretty damn good job of navigating you guys through the markets. Don't mean to toot our own horns, but these results speak to that. These results speak to that, and you guys are seeing on a daily basis the room for better or worse is majority positive on a daily basis and on a monthly basis as well. Our average really since we started tracking this in September 2018 has been around 65 to 66%. So this is not fluff. This is not, looking back at it, you could have got short here, taken profit down here, and, laughed to the bank. That's not what this is. This is day in, day out, coming into the trenches each morning with you guys, grinding it out. And, these are the results. So I speak on it very passionately because we pour our hearts and souls into providing you guys content and all of this education. And, seeing these results is what makes it worth it for us. When you guys are posting up numbers like this and you guys are green a majority of the time, that is what all the work is all about. So end of rant here. Great job today. Not as good as it could have been, but still not bad at all. 59% overall green, 45% up, 13% flat, 40% down on the session. Again, wasn't the easiest one to trade. Really, the initial moves off the open were where the direction was found. I know in the trading room, we called out a great fade, which was basically the low of the session right around the 16 quarters, 16 halves. A bunch of the room caught that. And, Steven did a really good job on the oil part. So great results in there. And that's how we're going to wrap it up today. So that being said, I'm going to switch the camera back to myself. And, you guys have an opportunity to ask me what you would like to see. If there's anything that I'm, skipping through, if there's something that's not making sense to you guys. At the end of the day, we're doing this, guys. We're doing this on YouTube here to show you what we have behind closed doors, what we offer, a little glimpse of what we do in the background, how our team kind of operates, how our team does on a daily basis. I think that's super important to see. I know that's what I was looking for when I started trading. And boy, do I wish there was a place like TPA when I started. That's one of the reasons why I joined in. And that's one of the reasons why I continue to show up every day and, share some of the insight that I've learned throughout my 6 or 7 years in this industry. So I hope you guys are enjoying that. I don't see any questions coming in, but I do see some praise. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to sit in here, to comment, to show up, to say hello. We really, really do appreciate that. So if there's no other questions, I will sign off for the remainder of today. Until tomorrow, guys, the 3 rules: stay patient, stay diligent, and stay disciplined. Till then, good luck and good trading. Take care, guys. Ciao.